in the other decisions. Okay? Elohim sends the children of Israel to take vengeance on the Midianites for what they did. Children of Israel are to utterly destroy the Midianites, not leave anyone alive, not to take captives, okay? Bring back the spoils, but don't leave any captives. Don't leave any survivors. So they go in there and they do their thing. But they save the children and they save the women and they bring them back. And Moses says, what are you doing? What part of kill everybody did you not understand? You know, I've had people come to me. His grandfather used to tell me all the time, I can't read that Old Testament because I cannot believe that God is so unmerciful that, you know, that he kills all these people. And if we read it topically, you know, we're saying, wow, he's really being harsh on these people. If we take it a little bit below the surface, then we can understand that we're going to kill off all these people so that what happened, that the children of Israel strayed with them in the deal with Moab, with Balak, they strayed and committed idolatry and fornicated with the Midianite women, and they, as a result, brought a plague upon themselves. We can see why they would destroy them all. But let's take it a little bit deeper in how this can affect us today, in that we are still faced with having to slay Midian every day. That when Elohim gives us his word, and when we read his word, and his word tells us that we are to do such and such and so and so, that we are to do such and such and so and so, when the Spirit tells us to take a path in doing a job, in a relationship, in whatever comes along, then we have to pay attention and do exactly what the Word says. But if we bring back the women and the little children, what are we doing? First of all, if we bring back the women, we're bringing back the mindset that we did this before, and we're going to try doing it the way we did it before one more time. Okay? So why would I bring back something that caused me a bunch of trouble in the first place? Why would I bring that back into my life? So I want to get rid of that. I don't want that in my life. I've tried it, it didn't work, get rid of it. Now, the second thing, it says kill off all the male children, infants. Okay? But leave the young females, the female infants, alive. Why? I can bring a small infant-like idea of a false belief into my relationship with Elohim and say it's harmless, it's not going to hurt anything. And before I know it, that little bitty idea that I brought into my relationship with Elohim that I knew from the beginning went contrary to his word has now grown up into a big problem. Yes. But I've raised it in my home, so I don't view it as a problem. Now I view it as, well, it's part of my life. And the Holy Spirit is telling me, it's not part of your life. It's wrong. You shouldn't be doing this. But now I've rooted this, that everybody where it's accepted sees that I'm doing this, and now my physical family has grown up knowing me to do this. Now I'm stuck doing this, and it goes contrary to Elohim, and it brings me a lot of friction in my life. If I'd have killed it when it was young, then I wouldn't have to worry about it to start with. But what about leaving the infant girls alive? We say that spirit is something that can be developed. Our spirituality is something that can be developed. And we bring a spirit within us. If we keep to the proper perspective of Ish and Chokhmah, I keep the proper perspective on prayer, I keep the proper perspective on study, I keep the proper perspective on praise, and I use those to build wisdom in order to raise up my child in the way that it should go, and it shall not depart from it, because now I have a spirit of understanding that's living with me and that is helping me in my life spiritually. Okay? Spirit is the weakest link. Spirit can be swayed in either direction. We saw that with Isha and the serpent. That although she was with Ish, Elohim told Adam, who was Ish and Isha together, what to do and what not to do. When Ish and Isha separated, when Isha was separated from prayer and from study, that is when the Satan comes and attacks the spirit. But if we keep Isha small, young, connected under her father's house, and her father is wise enough to say no when no has to be said, and say okay when okay is okay, then we see that we're going to grow the right spirit within us. Now, I guess the last thing that we would talk about is the thing with Gad and with Reuben. They've come to a point, they've finished their 40 years of wandering in the wilderness, and they come to the Jordan, and Gad and Reuben say to Moses, look, this is nice land. It's great for our cattle, it's great for us to build a home here, it's great for us to settle down here. We don't want to cross over the Jordan. And Moses, the first thing Moses says is, have you lost your mind? He says, do you not remember what happened last time somebody didn't want to cross over the Jordan? Do you really want to go back into the wilderness for 40 years? We all have to cross over the Jordan because we're about to go to war over and over and over in order to conquer this land. Now, there's a conflict. What could we do about it? Gad and Reuben could have gotten all upset like Korah did and tried to usurp authority and say, well, we're not going. What right do you have to tell us that to go? Exactly what Korah said. What right do you have to tell us to go? We're not going to go. We refuse to do anything you tell us to do. We don't need you. And then what would have happened? They would have turned right back around, and everybody would have gone right back out into the wilderness until that generation died off, so we could try it again. But what happens is Gad and Reuben say, no. Look, we're going to leave our families here. We'll build our houses, we'll settle our livestock in, and then all of the fighting men will cross over the Jordan with you. And we will go in front. We will lead the way and help you to settle your territories. And then when everything is done, then we will go home. And that's exactly what they did. They went and they helped them and they went in front, and it wasn't anymore this my way, your way. Stephen Covey wrote a book called 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. In that book, he talks about different paradigms. And he talks about a win-lose paradigm. He talks about a lose-lose paradigm. Mm-hmm. But he also talks about the ideal paradigm, which is a win-win situation. And this is what we are seeking in conflict resolution. The Torah is teaching us how to resolve conflict. Say, look, this is what my goals are. I understand what your goals are. And now this is where Binah and Chokhmah come in. This is where Ish and Isha come in. This is where the wife and the husband come in that I understand what your problem is. I understand that I want to have my home over here. I want to settle my family down over here. But I understand that you have all this territory to conquer. You have these people to conquer. I understand the problem. Now, Chokhmah comes in, the wisdom comes in, and instead of making it all about me, since I now understand, wisdom comes in and says, let me drop off the wife and the kids, give them the keys to the station wagon, and I'm going to go in front of you and do everything I can to help you to succeed, because if you succeed, we all succeed. So they go. They do their thing. Gad and Reuben comes back, and half of the tribe of Manasseh decides also to settle in the Transjordan. Our parasha tonight is called Matot. It means tribes. But we get an understanding that as human beings, as individuals, and as groups, even as couples, we all have to work together. But it doesn't simply take wisdom, and it doesn't simply take understanding. It takes both of them in order for us to be successful at what we do. And that's what tonight's parasha is telling us. So with that being said, any questions?
Yes, I thought you were posing the question to us when we were going through the 7 through 17. But it's interesting that if the husband or man disavows it, that it's different in the last case.
The iniquity is on him, yes.
Yes.
And, okay, this is something that we also have to consider. And it's with either man or woman. It's irrelevant. We as people sometimes have to make very difficult decisions that are going to affect our lives, that can either affect our health, our getting worse, or our getting better. Okay? Now, if I take that topically, if someone that I love is very ill, and that person says, I don't want to take treatments, I'll get better on my own. Well, it says that day to day, the husband's going to pay attention. Day to day. Okay? But it also says that on the day that he hears of it. So how is it day to day and on the day that he hears of it? Well, here, Shema is to pay attention, behold, to pay careful attention to what the situation is going on. Okay? And make a judgment day to day on what's going on. And if you have to disallow something, and that person goes through something, and because you disallowed it and they went through whatever they went through to get better, and they didn't get better, then it's on you. Okay? The person wanted to be left alone, it's on you. The same thing in any other situation. If I know that this situation is going to harm my family, okay, I have a decision to make about buying a car, buying a house. And day to day, I have to make a decision as to what steps I'm going to take. And if my understanding tells me, take this direction, but my wisdom says, don't take that direction, and it ends up that the understanding is correct and the wisdom is incorrect, then I still have to bear that. It's still my responsibility. It's not God's fault. Yehovah will forgive the other cases, but if I have to do something that could drastically alter my life, and I don't look at it the right way day to day, and I'm wishy-washy, and I get to a point where finally I disallow something and I shouldn't have disallowed it, and it goes south, it's my fault. Because I didn't use the right combination of Binah and Chokhmah. Does that make any sense?
Kind of in conjunction with that, I was thinking along the same thing. One of the things I think I got from that is where it says, you know, if he makes them null and void after he's heard them, then he shall bear her iniquity. So I kind of got the feeling it might be if he procrastinates, you know, like maybe he heard that and he had the opportunity to disallow it, but he didn't, and he kind of let it float along for a while, and then he decides, well, I need to do that, and he does it, then it rests with him, because I kind of got a feeling of procrastination there. Would that apply at all?
That's a beautiful, perfect analogy. I mean, that's better than mine. So, you know, and procrastination is something that kills us. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Because the more we procrastinate, the less likely we are to use wisdom and simply go on impulse. Or we go on the fact that I've procrastinated, and instead of having 5 days to do it, I have 2 hours to get it done. And now it's on me, exactly like Sandra said, because I procrastinated. That's an excellent analogy. Perfect.
One more thing on that. When it says her husband disallows it or makes null and void, is there a special procedure that he does or needs to do? Or how does a husband disallow things?
Well, if we're looking at it topically, the husband would say no. And the husband would go to, I guess, the creditors, the debtors, or whoever that the wife got involved with, and he would say, I'm saying no. She said yes. And although she has the authority to say yes, I have the authority to come in and say no. Okay? And that's
I
the
don't
same.
want your mule.
And it's the same thing when we're making day-to-day decisions. We have the authority to say yes. Elohim has the authority to say, that's not a very good idea. He's not going to say no. Because if he said no, then he would be interfering with our free will. But he's going to say, that's not a very good idea. Think about what you're about to do. Use wisdom, because you're fixing to get yourself into something you don't want to be in. All right.
Goes back to want and need.
There you go.
It is.
Anybody else? Okay, cool.